These pictures are in the germ ring stage about 5 to 6 hours after fertilization. The male and female zebrafish got right to the point, so when we checked the next day, we wanted to be able to see the divisions and the beginning of development, but they were already in the germ stage. You can see the involution of the deep cells at the margin of the blastoderm, creating a thickened germ ring. The deep cells converge towards the dorsal side, which creates a more pronounced thickening of the embryonic shield.
This next stage is the 80% epiboly, done on September 30th, 2021 at 10:45 a.m. The epiboly is one of the 5 types of cell movement that occurs in the gastrulation stage of embryonic development in zebrafish. The epiboly movement is the way a layer of epithelial cells spread. They are responsible for cytoskeletal changes across the embryo. Three different portions in the epiboly are created during this stage: the enveloping layer, the yolk centinicule layer, and finally the deep cell layer. These will all go on to eventually form the embryo's 3 germ layers, which are the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. Next stage is the bud stage, that was done on September 30th, 2021 at 11:30 a.m. You can clearly see that all 3 germ layers have formed. That is important for embryonic development in the zebrafish. In the middle, we have the mesoderm that will later give rise to the notochord.
On September 30th, at roughly 11:48 a.m., our zebrafish were entering the bud stage and the tail buds were beginning to be formed, which means that the epiboly is fully complete. In the middle, you can see that there's an unknown organism in the petri dish of the zebrafish, and that was a parasite that attacked some of our eggs, as you can see on the far right, which caused our eggs to die. So not all of them completed the development it needed to due to the parasite.
Here you can see that these guys are in the shield stage. You can see the little bump starting to form on the side of the yolk. This stage also allows us to distinguish the dorsal and ventral views. The dorsal side is where the little bump is and will become the little guy's head.
On September 30th at 3 p.m., these zebrafish eggs were looked at, which means not all of them developed at the same pace because some were already completed, had already completed the epiboly stage, but some eggs did not. So these eggs were in the germ ring stage and some were still in the shield stage. And Dr. Lin had told us to suck up the parasite from the petri dish because it was eating some of the zebrafish eggs, and so the parasite was taken out of the petri dish and no more problems occurred after this. So these eggs are some in the germ ring stage and some are in the shield stage. The germ ring stage happens first, where it starts thickening around the blastoderm and then leads to the shield stage, which the shield starts thickening even more around the blastoderm.
This next stage is the early somite stage. You can't clearly see the somites forming yet, but you can see that the mesoderm is forming to give rise to the somites later on in development. Somites are blocks of the mesoderm that are located on the neurotube in the embryo. The first pair comes from the interior part of the trunk, adjacent to the notochord. Somite 1 has entered into the interior boundary in the area that is pointing at the optic pyridium as it begins to become visible under the microscope.
These pictures demonstrate the 17 somite stage. You can see the optic placode as well as the brain neural mirror, and the trunk somites have a V shape. Soon the optic placode will be an optic vessel. The eye lens will be present, hindbrain neuromeres will be prominent, and the tail will be well extended.
On October 1st at 9:52 a.m., this picture was taken of the zebrafish and was recorded as the 17th somite stage. In the 17th somite stage, you can see the optic plaque code in the brain neuromeres. And as I was looking through the microscope, this little guy was twitching a lot and moving around, and I thought it was really interesting to see them moving around already at this stage. And yeah.
Here you can see that this little guy is in the somite 21 stage. You can also see some of the more distinctive features to zebrafish. Here you can also see his constricted egg and his elongated tail. It's starting to peek out in the
How's your
bottom.
mama, how you been? Girl, it's been too long. Sorry, sister, at the Circle K. Her
At
baby
this
number
point, the
2
neural
was
rod
on
has
the
become the
way.
neural tube.
Hadn't seen her
And
since
you
her
can also
wedding
start to
day
see some
with
muscular
you on my arm.
contractions.
It's good to hear from you again. Girl, what a coincidence. I was just thinking about that weekend out on Cumberland Lake, and that one time in Baton Rouge when we made out in the rain, where we went chasing falling stars on a hill at your daddy's farm. Don't be sorry for calling me up right out of the blue. I was just thinking about you. I was just thinking about you.
Hey, I just gotta say, I heard your song the other day, and it put a smile on my face when I started reminiscing. I've been on the edge of calling you, and I'm so glad I decided to.
I was just thinking about that weekend out on Cumberland Lake, and that one time in Baton Rouge when we made out in the rain, where we went chasing falling stars on a hill at your daddy's farm. Don't be sorry for calling me up right out of the blue. I was just thinking about you. Oh, I was just thinking about you. If you're ever back in town, do what you're doing right now, 'cause I'm probably thinking about you. I was just thinking about that weekend out on Cumberland Lake, and that one time in Baton Rouge when we made out in the rain, where we went chasing falling stars on a hill at your daddy's farm. Don't be sorry for calling me up right out of the blue. I was just thinking about you. Oh, I was just thinking about you. I was just thinking about you. Oh, I was just thinking about you.
At this point, the neural rod has become the neural tube, and you can also start to see some muscular contractions. Here you can see that this little guy is in the somite 21 stage. You can also see some of the more distinctive features to zebrafish. Here you can also see his constricted egg and his elongated tail that's starting to peek out in the bottom.
These pictures were taken on October 4th at 9:50 a.m. and this is the prim stage, and you can clearly see that there is tail pigmentation and just pigmentation overall, even though they haven't hatched. And you can definitely see the retina. You can see the big eyes already popping out, and you can definitely tell that it's a zebrafish due to the little spots on them and stripes on the tail. Along with the physical appearance, they also were responsive to touch, and they had lots of spontaneous movements going on, more than before in the somite stage.
We now have a fast little swimming fish. We now